she was fully having a go at me, and I was trying to be very serene, and all the photographers were there, and I was like, sit in the car.
I actually let go of one nanny because she was just too quiet. I needed somebody who would talk to me.
More than looking for answers, as mothers, we're looking for reassurance.
AI will give you that reassurance because AI will tell you you're never wrong.
I do steal some of her t-shirts because I wear them as crop tops.
Wow.
As a mom, please, please, connect with your child before you correct them. It works so much better.
Let's pass on love and not every tradition. Some things might help, but not everything.
So when Anaya was born, I looked for a manual, and everybody said that there isn't one. But that's a lie. There is one, it's just unwritten. And it says, don't complain, don't rest, don't ask for help, and definitely do not say that you are struggling. But honestly, I think that that manual needs an update, because here's what actually happened. So it was 2 a.m., I'm staring at this tiny person, and I'm thinking, am I holding her wrong? Is she feeling hungry? Why is she not sleeping? And then someone shows up. It's Kunal. He walked right in, picked her up, changed her diaper, didn't ask, just did it. Night feeds, tummy time, no complaints, no scorecard. And that's parenting ki nayi parampara. Dads who show up, jahan mom bol sakti hai ki I need a minute, and nobody judges. And that's what we are all going to be talking about today. About real moms and real stories. Mixed, I hope, with thoda laughter, thoda science, but pure dil se. And at this table, I'm very excited that we have 4 women with us who are really living this. We have Anita Hasnandani. She's an actress, a mom to Arav. I think you became a mother at 40. So I think that just threw out the timeline for everyone. And you wrote your own timeline, basically. We're also joined by Payal Naran, a mother, also a child psychologist. We have Dr. Tejasvi Manogna, pediatrician, Miss India Earth, and India's best cadet, and a mom to a 2-month-old. And we also have Tanya Mehra, a single mom of a beautiful girl and also a nutritionist. I would like to say that there's a lot of professional expertise, but we're also, at the end of the day, 5 moms sitting around a table. And I think that hopefully we can say things here. It's a safe space, non-judgmental, perhaps things that we openly might not have been comfortable saying a decade ago, a generation ago, yesterday, I don't know. So I'm Soha, and this is called Have a Seat, Mom, and it's presented by Cetaphil Baby. So moms, you've already had a seat, and I think यही मौका है कि आप दिल से जो भी आप बोलना चाहते हैं आप बोलिए, खुल के बोलिए. Nobody's going to judge you here. And the first conversation starter I thought we would start with, which is something that I became guilty of doing. It's called Please Don't See My Search History, which happens at around 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning for some people, when you think the world is asleep and there's no one else to talk to, and that's when you turn, of course, to this vast internet. So whether it's, online, whether it's artificial intelligence, which I'm hugely dependent on today. Yeah, so we ask them questions, and I thought I would start by asking you, what's the most absurd thing that you have looked up at 3 a.m. when you're feeling most vulnerable?
I think I was, when Aru was young, I was obsessed with his poop.
Yeah.
What color is it? He hasn't pooped for so many hours. Is it okay? So many days. So yeah, I think that is one thing I would keep researching about. And I was like, middle of the night, just thinking about his poop. And if at all he missed a poop, I would be like, oh my God, is he going to be fine?
Yeah.
So you're calling up the doctor and asking, is it okay? How many hours is it okay? So yeah.
No, it's true. And I think that it's also the first couple of weeks of pooping is quite a rainbow.
And green. Yeah, green.
But it starts off like black, and then it's been a while for me.
Yeah, same.
And then it becomes, and
Green,
then it's
and then
texture and
yellow.
consistency.
Yellow,
People
green,
might have already tuned out of this conversation now, those of you who are a little faint of heart. How about you?
I actually Googled how to get those potty stains out of the nappy. It's really hard to wash out.
Oh, so you're using reusable?
I was initially, and then I checked out and I said, this is just not my cup of tea. And I switched to diapers, which I think worked best for us.
Yes. I think that's right. And convenience is a huge part, I think, of especially us. We're working, we're doing all sorts of things. I have to ask you also, because, of course, Tejasvi, yours is 2 months, so you're in the throes of it. Are you actually texting anybody at 3 in the morning, including the internet?
Yes. Actually, in terms of poop, I know the answer because I've been there and I know how it runs. But then when I want to take a break, I tried putting milk into a bottle and tried to feed my baby, and she never accepts bottles. So I was trying to, search on the internet as to why is my baby not accepting a bottle. So, I mean, babies tend to get nipple confusions with when they're actually breastfeeding, and then when they're on exclusive breastfeeding for the 6 months, first 6 months, right? So when we give them bottles, they're confused. So I was like, why is she not accepting? Can I not go out for 1 hour? So that was my problem.
Well, you'll be here for more than an hour. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
But it's strange how even though if you're an expert, you're a pediatrician, still that support that you get from just sometimes speaking to anybody who's willing to listen at 3 o'clock in the morning and give you the reassurance that you already know. Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, Tanya, also.
Yeah, I have a very funny story for that matter. So I had introduced a pacifier to my daughter Noor, and we all know, right? Like everyone has a thing to say about pacifiers. So, and now everyone was after me that she's going to get crooked teeth and, all of those things. So I clicked a picture of my own teeth and I searched that, I was a pacifier baby and then my baby is now using a pacifier. My teeth seem to be fine. Will that get impacted or, she'll have good genes to kind of not get her teeth impacted? So, yeah, so I ended up searching that and I could not get like a concrete answer to it. So I was like, chuck it, I'm just going to go with it because it works for me. But I've got like a lot of backlash for using pacifiers. Yes. Yeah.
But I think more than looking for answers, as mothers, we're looking for reassurance. Whatever we're doing, are we doing it right?
AI will give you that reassurance because AI will tell you you're never wrong, which may or may not be accurate. But I think that is the thing. And to know that you're not alone also.
Exactly.
That there are other people who are doing the same things. The other thing that hiccuping, babies hiccuping like every 5 minutes. I don't know if you experienced it. I experienced this with Anaya as well. And I was concerned by that. Then eating things that are not meant to be eaten.
We keep getting calls as to my baby has eaten mud or paper or chalk piece, sometimes some toxins, sometimes whatnot, coins.
Coins.
Yes.
Yeah,
Coins.
recently,
Yeah, so it happens so that, we have to categorize them into, okay, this is non-toxic, so they'll be fine. And then something like coins, no, you have to rush immediately.
Even batteries.
Oh,
I've
yes,
heard of the
batteries
small
also are very,
batteries that
very
are in
That's
toxic.
why
toys.
nowadays, at least
They're
in your toys
screwed
and
in.
things, they're very particular about saying that this is for under the age
So
of...
we'll have to call up the toxicology and then ask like how much of the dose is actually toxic to the child. So there are 3 things we look into. So sometimes they can lead to infection, sometimes they can become toxic, or sometimes it can be due to, some deficiencies like iron deficiency or zinc deficiency that they keep on eating mud, which is called pica. So we'll have to intervene at that point. So I don't know, my daughter's still just 2 months old. I don't know what she will end up with at some point.
No, my mother
and I'll
told
have to
me actually that she used to eat a lot of chalk and that was some kind of calcium,
Yes,
deficiency.
yes. Iron
which-
deficiencies, they eat a lot of mud.
Yes.
And ice.
Oh, yes.
And
Ice.
And ice.
I like
Somehow
to
I
eat
know
ice.
how.
I'm iron deficient.
Really?
My son loves ice. So now
Yeah.
I know why, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Or he just likes ice. So tell me, does this 5-second rule, is it okay? If it's 5 seconds, it's falling on
I
the floor?
follow it, to be very honest.
You follow it, even if it's the streets of Mumbai.
Come on, their immunity improves. It's okay.
Okay. What about the one about sleeping when the baby sleeps? How have you guys managed with that? Again, I'll ask you first because this is most relevant to your life, I feel.
Yes. Even though I'm a pediatrician, I will still have to have some reassurance that this is okay, this is not abnormal and all. So when it comes to sleep, for them, for babies, it's like, if they sleep for some 45 minutes in the night, if they sleep for just 3 hours in the night, they still have the entire day to sleep, but I don't have the entire day again. I'll have to be up the entire day. I used to have night duties, like 8 night duties in a month, but this is like doing night duties 30 days in the whole month. So I have to keep myself up all the time. So I think that is where it matters, For the child, there is the entire family to take care. But for your own self, there has to be somebody to take care of you also, and it matters a lot at this point.
Absolutely. So how did you, for example, Anita, in terms of when Arav was born, was he up through the night? Could you sleep when he slept? Because I couldn't do that. I'm not a napper anyway. So I was quite exhausted for the first 6 months. And you get into a state of almost hallucinating. It affects your cognitive, health. And I think people now are aware of this a little bit, but perhaps they weren't a generation ago. So for you, I think sleep is very important.
100%. First 6 months, pretty tough. But after that, if you have good help, I think it falls into place. And also Rohit was pretty hands-on.
Yeah.
Like I would nudge him and say, okay, your turn. So he would wake up and, pick him or whatever. And also once he was on bottle, after a few years, he was fine.
How is it for
So
you in terms
Abir
of the...
actually had silent reflux, and I'm someone who can't do without sleep in general. So I was a wreck for the first 6 months. At around 5.5 months, I found a pediatrician who was willing to listen to me, and after all my research on silent reflux, gave me medicine and told me that let's see for 3 days and let's see if it is silent reflux, because there's no way to actually test for it per se. And he was a different baby. He was suddenly sleeping properly. He was not cranky. He was not crying. And I felt like I finally got the baby that I felt everyone else had and I didn't have.
For you also, Tanya, I feel like, breastfeeding is something that, of course, requires the mother. And for people who choose to do that, it is going to be exhausting because I believe it's also digested in seconds and then it's peed out, it's
Yes,
puked out.
absolutely.
And then you're like, oh no, it's all gone. At least that was the case for me. And then when I moved to solids, I was rejoicing. And I felt like she anyway preferred eating food. And whether it was milk, whether it was breast milk, she just didn't enjoy that. And I don't know if this was, I think this was just her. And we would have to actually make her go to sleep and then she would feed in her sleep. But if she was awake, she didn't want anything and she was hungry. So it was for 6 months, it was very difficult, and sleep, of course, and because I'm a bit of a control freak, I was hovering over her and doing all of that. But then when solids started, it became much easier. I feel like, food is very important. Food and sleep are basics. And if you sleep well and if you eat well, one thing that you will have is emotional regulation. And I feel like, of course, perhaps tantrums, and I don't even know like politically correct words anymore, meltdowns, when you lose control, which we all do. I mean, I think I had my own tantrum this morning, but those happen. When they happen in public, it can be somewhat embarrassing. And Inaya's first public meltdown was actually outside Food Square 3 years ago. Otherwise, meltdowns had happened, but this was like the whole paparazzi were there. And we came out of Food Square. I had done something wrong, of course. And she was saying, you're so, and because you're late and something. And she was fully having a go at me. And I was trying to be very serene, and all the photographers were there. And I was like, sit in the car. And then when we got in the car, I was angry with her because I was like, why are you doing this right now? And you're so well behaved, and I'm such a perfect mother, and all of that. And we went through all of those emotions. And when I got in the car, I understood, for me, that how you behave in public and how you behave perhaps in private, there should not be zameen asman ka fark. Even when I am parenting her, it shouldn't just be because people are present that I have a particular tone, and in private I perhaps take a different tone. And even for the children, I think perhaps emotional regulation and tantrums serve a purpose. And it tends to happen a lot with mothers, I feel, like maybe because we're their safe space, that they let go. Asking, first with you, do you recall like Arif's first meltdown when it was more than just you and him?
Okay, so not the first, but he's had quite a few. And I remember Aru, when I was taking a flight, I remember he wanted a hat. It was in my bag, and I just, as a mother, just tightened the hat and I gave it to him. And he's like, why did you do that? And he just went crazy crying, and I did get the looks. But the idea is to just stay calm at that point and just, let that moment pass and give him a hug later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So same thing on a flight, but he was only 11 months old, and I remember this very embarrassing scene where he just would not stop crying. The time in the flight where we couldn't get up and I couldn't walk or anything, and there was this one uncle behind me who was just going again and again, and Abir was crying at the top of his lungs, and I was getting really overwhelmed and nothing was working. That period where he was going on, and I just could see everyone looking at me and staring at me and judging me, and it felt so overwhelming. I just realized, okay, I am now projecting that on him and he is getting more overwhelmed. I need to calm down, and I just started sort of singing in my mind and calming myself down, and eventually he calmed down too.
Yeah, and I think it's hard also to just relate sometimes to someone who's so young and small and doesn't have the tools perhaps to communicate what they're feeling.
Yeah.
I just have something very funny to share.
Please.
My baby, she makes a lot of sound while breastfeeding in the car. I am like, now, does everybody really have to know that she's feeding right now. She makes that kissing sound. So it's just funny. I mean, I'm sure. But in the hospital, we do keep seeing a lot of kids throwing a lot of tantrums, you know, doing the snake dance on the floor, pulling the chairs, and they are very aggressive. So we keep seeing all sorts of kids, and I think it's normal. I mean, we'll have to go through this phase.
What's the best
at some
advice for
time.
somebody who's had a, who's in the throes of watching their child having a tantrum?
As they've already mentioned, just you have to be calm for yourself first, and then, let them be calm later on. Because once you also start getting angry and aggressive, I think they'll start to act even more abnormal. So,
Yeah. So this brings me to a question which is about the Unsolicited Advice Hall of Fame. I think all of us can connect with that in terms of people, whether you are asking for it or not, doesn't matter, give you advice. And some of it is really out there. Like I think with Inaya, when she was young, and they said put ghee in her nostrils, and that might ward off colds. She used to get a lot of colds, and I did do that for some time as well. You're shaking your head. You're like, well, don't do that, don't do that. Already did it. She's fine, but I did it all, and then something told me, okay, maybe this is not the best way to be going.
There was one advice that let your baby cry it out. It's good for the lungs. Is it really good for the lungs?
only when the baby is born, just born.
Okay.
Not after.
How about you, Payal?
This whole thing where your moms are not meant to leave the house for like 40 days, I understand the notion behind rest, but yeah, no. I think you need to find what works for you, and if it's overwhelming for you, get out and do something that makes you feel better. For sure, whatever that may be, working out, working, whatever it is. For me, it was just leaving the house.
Yes.
So
I think that's important, is to listen and actually respect what your body wants.
Yeah.
And perhaps these things, were invented at a time when women didn't have so much agency. Perhaps.
Correct.
And therefore it was made a rule that, okay, now you must sit at home and rest. But I'll come to you, Tejaswini, in terms of,
Yeah, since I'm a
weird
new
advice.
new mom, being a new mom, I got a lot of advices for myself and for my baby also. So even though I'm a doctor, my relatives and all the elders, they feel more experienced. So of course they'll give me advices. So put cotton in your ears, put the belt around, wear your chappal, and you're just not behaving like a postpartum woman. So many things in terms of my the food I'm supposed to eat, the food I'm not supposed to eat, and whatever I eat is going to affect the baby, and how the baby is going to be reacting to that. And in terms of my baby, they were like, press the nose, that's going to shape the nose of the baby. Press the skull, it'll make the skull round. So I was like, I am a pediatrician, please don't tell me all of this. I'm not going to listen to any of this, because now practically we know that when you press the baby's nose, it's very delicate, and the cartilage doesn't shape by pressing it, and it can lead to fractures, and it can lead to some breathing difficulties sometimes. And the skull especially, is so soft when they're born, and it's soft for a reason, so that the brain can grow properly. And then when you press it, it can again lead to some dangerous situations. So I think, as I said, let's pass on love, and not every tradition. Some things might help, but not everything.
But I think all of this comes from a place of love.
It definitely comes from a place of love. And the idea is not to throw it all out, but perhaps to also lean on, now we have scientific, evidence-based research and things that may not contradict, but they just give us easier, more convenient options.
I was okay till whatever advices they had given me as a mom, but for my baby, I was not ready to listen to anybody. I'm like, I'm a pediatrician, please let me work on my baby, so I know what works.
There's also one about don't have cold things to eat, because especially when you're breastfeeding. Have you heard this one, Tanya?
Yes, but I don't think it's true at all. Have the ice cream or have the ice drink, because I think mums need it more, right?
The ice cream for sure.
Yeah. No, so it doesn't kind of affect the baby that the milk will be cold, and all of those notions. And yes, there is a lot of talk about whatever you eat does affect. So well, it does.
Some things do, yes.
Yeah, they do. Especially your consumption of fats.
Yeah.
I think we've all had the ghee laddus.
Yeah.
Not me.
Go on the laddus, go on the
Yeah, go on the ghee and
How did you
dry
manage to avoid
fruits.
them?
I just could not, get myself to eat them.
I had to
because-
have panjiri, so I had a deal with my mother-in-law that I'll have half a teaspoon, because the smell of the ghee was just overwhelming to me.
Yeah, even I didn't like that.
Matlab clear hai that there's no such thing as, I think, a perfect mother, but
Correct.
we all have very long internet search histories that have been established. And it brings us to this second segment now, which is called Who Said That? little bit familiar in terms of the fact that we all, of course, as mothers have heard things from family, from the internet, from AI. Don't eat this, like I was saying earlier, while breastfeeding. Another one I've heard is, that you should put malai on a baby's skin, that it makes it soft, that it makes it supple. So all these things we hear. Have you done the malai thing? Have you heard this?
So when Aru was born, his skin color was different, and then over time he got a bit darker. So everybody was giving me advice, do this, do that. I mean, not that I was affected, but then you get carried away. Yeah. So I have tried besan with a little haldi and milk. And I don't know about the color, but his hair growth is now slightly gold. I don't know if it's the effect of the besan or my imagination, but I tried that.
Could be the sun. Just being out in the sun, maybe? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even.
So I did try the besan nuska.
And that was to reduce a tan?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom has tried the besan on me, and I have very delicate dry skin as well. So I did not try anything on him. I even avoided oil. I only used creams and lotions to massage him as well, because he would get those red dots on his skin immediately. So I did not try anything on him.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, coconut oil we use a lot. I'm saying at home we use a lot, and I perhaps used it. And in Aya's skin, again, she would get rashes very quickly. And she has a little bit of eczema now as well. So then I was very careful in terms of what I used. And I thought I would ask you in terms of the...
Yeah, I think I have a point about what each one of you mentioned.
I feel like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of skin color, I think being a pediatrician, almost every week I keep getting these queries that, it's not about feeding, it's not about my baby's not sleeping well, but I get these queries about how do I make my baby's skin look fairer. So, I mean, my answer to everybody is like, you can't. You can't really do that. It's genetics. And any lotion is not actually going to make the skin fairer. And these lotions, they're actually meant, to soothe the baby's skin, to nourish the baby's skin. And I think that things work better with babies right now, even more than the malais and everything. And in my opinion, in my personal opinion, like one such good lotion is Cetaphil Baby Daily Lotion. And in terms of ma'am mentioning about the rashes, even, lotions containing something like calendula, these really help in soothing the skin and reducing the eczema, the itching and the redness and all of these things. And you've mentioned about coconut oil. So coming to coconut oil, I think all of us are using it, and it has been coming through the generations. I'm not against it, but I think it's not enough. So, just giving coconut oil may not always produce the natural oils and then, keep it preserved for the baby. Baby's skin is very, very different from our skin. They're very delicate, they're very fragile. So, we might have to use not just coconut oil, but definitely a very nourishing lotion over the baby's skin.
Yeah, I think for me now, I'm just thankful that the narrative is changing. It needs to be pushed a little bit more still, certainly. But the conversations that I'm having around skin are moving towards at least understanding healthy skin is about having a supple, well-hydrated, well-moisturized skin barrier, because what is our skin? It's like the largest organ, and it's there to protect us. And so to keep that working, and many things that we've tried sometimes are damaging and actually have a reverse effect.
It's not the number of things that we use, but I think it's the right product that we use. Even if it's just one, use the right thing with the right balance.
Absolutely. Another thing that, keeps coming up is that, mother's nurture is different and perhaps more important than father's nurture. And I certainly feel that in the early days, because we breastfeed, we connect with the child sort of intrinsically. That bond is just formed from when they're in the womb, certainly. And I feel like earlier I used to think that fathers don't really want to be involved, and they go to work. And my father was of that generation where he was slightly more reserved, didn't show so much affection. He was there, but my mother made all the rules. I feel like now, today, perhaps this generation, at least in cities like Mumbai, that role is becoming slightly more transferable, perhaps. Yeah, and I think that fathers certainly want to be involved and sometimes don't know how to be involved, especially in the early ages, because they're not breastfeeding. So they're like, how do I form a bond? And I tried, certainly, it's a learning for me over 5 years, because I was quite like, I'll do everything. And to let someone else, even Kunal, in, for me, took a lot. Okay, you come, you do this. you know. So I've got there slowly, slowly, and they have their own bond now. But I think that narrative of like, you know, a mother's touch being different is something that we can perhaps change, and we can talk about how fathers can help and you know, how they can nurture in different ways. So, you know, like we were just talking, Anita, when we weren't rolling, about how you went off to shoot for 3 months. So what was that like at home? And Rohit and Arav, like, how did they figure it out?
I think just their style of taking care is different, like playing around, more fun, traveling. So I could peacefully shoot for 3 months. I was really worried,
Yeah.
you know, whether Rohit is going to be fine, but he was just great. And honestly, after I came back, the bond that they share now, I was like, I'm going to go for these girly vacations also, you know, often, so that even I get my break and you guys get to bond. Yes.
So similar to you, I felt like I took on the lead parent
Yeah, I feel like we have
role.
similar energy.
Yeah. And I then started figuring out, like, he wanted to help and I would not let him sometimes, or I would step in too quickly. And I've let that change. And as he's grown older, initially, my husband is just generally not somebody who is drawn to kids in his natural habitat. But over time, we have worked out things that he is better at than me, and how he can take over. He, you know, he'll wake up early a few days and drop him to school rather than letting him go by bus.
Yes.
He'll pick him up from classes and they'll go share a chocolate together. It's become their thing. And when we always take a lot of family holidays, even if it's, you know, a few days, a staycation, so that we can get time together to bond together, and he can take over. On those days, I usually do nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we found our rhythm, but it took work getting there. And this idea that moms naturally know how to do things is so outdated, because I had to learn everything, assuming that I knew things. I'm sorry, I did not. I learned, he learned, and we found a rhythm together. It may not be the exact same style, but we found what worked for our family.
You know, like you were saying earlier, Tejaswini, like, you know, that your child is so important to you and you're protective about that. Yes. So I feel like, you know, letting go is a learning journey for all of us, certainly, and it comes to perhaps others more naturally. You know, Tanya, you are a single parent. And often I feel like we rely on good cop, bad cop. Like I certainly do. And it's not necessary that it has to be gendered, that the mother is always bad cop and the father is always good cop. As long as there's some play. And I wanted to know how that happens when there's a single parent. Isn't that a lot of pressure?
Well, it's very tough, and initially I used to struggle a lot, you know, with this, because I had to be the decision maker. I had to take all the tough decisions. I also had to be her emotional support and my own support. And my parents don't live with us, so you know, I just live alone with her, so it's even tougher. So I think over time, I've just developed a rhythm, and I've learned that, you know, I can't do everything perfectly. And there will be good days, there will be bad days, and there'll be days when she hates me. But then, you know, she'll have to come to me eventually. We don't have an option. And I think she's also growing up like that, where she knows that, you know, I'm the only adult or grown up in the house. Yes. And eventually she'll have to come back to me.
I think that is what the toughest thing is, that you have to constantly be the best version of yourself. And that's impossible, I think, for anyone to do. You know, I break down all the times. I've, you know, raised my voice. I've used the wrong language and I've apologized. And, you know, we have that bond, but it just, you know, when you share the load, it becomes a little easier. Yeah. And I think that thing of, you know, you said that, you know, she'll hate me. But I think that's also important to know that it's all right to be temporarily hated. And I think being a parent can't just be about being loved all the time, because if you're being loved all the time, perhaps you're not always doing the right thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not an expert, but I just feel like that might be the case. Again, for you, Tejaswini, yours is 2 months old.
Yes.
How can a father be involved in nurturing at this age?
I think, as you mentioned, there is a whole generational change right now. Even the hospitals, they make sure that the husband has to be there when the delivery is happening. And even the husbands are excited to see the baby come out for the first time. When I started getting the false pains, I felt like, okay, I'm going to deliver the baby, and I called him. He is working for the government, and he's like, he took leave and he came down. Came down 10 days ahead of my delivery. So he had to wait. He's like, when are you going to deliver? When are you going to deliver? My leaves are getting exhausted. Please deliver now. So I think that bond, that they want to see the baby for the first time. And even he loves doing the diaper changes and everything. So even though I am the one who is there with my daughter the entire day, there is sparks of excitement in her eyes when she sees her father in the evening.
Yeah,
She
no,
loves
obsessed
seeing her
with their
father already.
fathers.
I'm like, how can a 2-month-old have so much emotions towards a father? I think that's how they said, they keep saying babies keep listening to the voice from the womb itself. So it's going beautifully as of now.
No, I think it's nice. I think the takeaway is also that there's no manual and we keep updating the playbook, And I think the idea is, like you were saying earlier, that it all comes from a place of love, and don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But when it comes to all these manuals, I think jo kaam karta hai, wo rakho. And then if you feel ke better ho sakta hai, then it's okay to also evolve along the way and to have an open mind. And that brings me to our third segment, which is actually called It's Okay, Mumma, because I think that this is something we don't hear often enough. I personally like to share my problems. I'm not looking for a solution. All I want to hear sometimes is like, it's okay, you'll be okay, this too shall pass. Words like that are just comforting. I feel like perhaps that these are things that we can hear more of. And one thing that I wanted to touch on was the loneliness of being a new mother, and also the guilt, which I think is something that we have spoken about lots, but especially perhaps now women who are working as well, who are traveling, who have other things going on, other identities. So starting with that identity shift of when you become a new mother, for me, I lost my friends, I lost my husband, I lost my job, I lost a lot, and I just became Mumma. And I enjoyed that also. What was dangerous for me is for 3 years, I was just Mumma, and I sort of thought this is my be-all and end-all. And then I realized, okay, I actually need other things. I need a career, I need friends. And luckily, they were there for me. But I feel sometimes those things are not there when you are ready to go back. And our biological clock and our career clocks both hit at the same time, I feel. You chose to become a parent when you were 40, which is typically a little later. Is that because you also felt like it would impede your career and then you said, okay, I'll get that done and then I'll focus on parenting?
Parenting is something that you can't plan. You have to be ready from within to take this up because it's a responsibility. So yeah, I think age is just a number. In fact, even today, people, tell me that Aru is going to be, you'll be 60 and Aru will be only 20. And I'm like, it's okay. We'll enjoy the great 20 years that we have.
Yeah, and now I think 60 is not what 60 used to be. Like I look at 60-year-old women now, and
you would never
I would
make
not
out
think that they're
that,
60 because they're looking after themselves, they're investing in their health and fitness. So I wanted to ask you, Tejaswini, for example, for you as a new mother, now you're here, you're also working, you have a demanding job. Is there guilt or are you able to be present?
For me, I think as of now, I'm just enjoying motherhood. It's just new phases for me. I think it's going to take me some time to hit that point, that I've lost a lot of myself behind because I'm putting a lot of things ahead of myself right now. My baby is ahead of me, my family is ahead of me, and the needs of my baby are ahead of me. But slowly it started to hit me somewhere that, I was a dancer once upon a time. I was a Miss India once upon a time. And then when do I restart my career? How do I get back to my work again? And who's going to take care of my baby? I think all these things slowly started to hit me. And then once I just finished my, postnatal break, I think that's when I have to get back onto my toes to arrange a lot of things both for my baby and the family, and then take a lot of burden on myself.
But you're already doing it. You've already started that process,
Yes,
is what I'm
yes,
saying.
yes.
How has it been for you? I feel like in terms of balancing work, especially when that circle of people that you can depend on becomes more narrow. Like you said, at home, it's just you and your daughter.
Yes. So I heavily rely on nannies, a few good friends who are, my biggest supporters, and they take care of Noor while I'm away. Currently, I'm here, not back home. So my dad's going to be flying from Udaipur to take care of her for a day. And then, yes, I have tried to build this whole network of nannies at home who support me. Even, in my work. So it is tough, and I think the guilt never kind of ends. Like you said, it's very important to be present and enjoy that moment, and I've kind of learnt it over the years now. So yeah, that works for me.
You know, I feel like we talk a lot about mum guilt, but is there dad guilt? Do you feel like it's
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Like
I think
Rohit,
so.
he goes to work, like, we moms, we have a routine that like your child should sleep at a certain time. And by the time he comes back, if he's sleeping, he's like, how could you? Why did you?
Yeah.
Because he really feels that he misses out on so much.
So my husband owns a restaurant actually, and that pretty much means that when he leaves in the early afternoon, he comes back after Abir has gone to bed. And this is every day of the week now. So we have found our rhythm with some days he gets up early and drops him to school. He'll pick him up in the middle of the day from class. But the dad guilt is definitely there.
No, I'm glad now that there are things like paternity leave that are being recognized, because also missing those moments, like the first word, which of course was Mumma, which I have on tape. And like the first time she walked, Kunal was there actually. But lots of those firsts, sometimes if any partner misses, you feel really bad about it. Or like when they've gone to bed and there was something that, because bedtime is when they're most vulnerable and they share stuff that's happened in the day, and then it's forgotten. It'll never come back. So if you've missed that bedtime, then you might have missed something that was quite sacred. And I feel really sensitive, and I feel for Kunal. So we try, and again, at home also, we try and manage that as much as possible. Again, with your baby being 2 months, sometimes when you come away from home like you have now, and if landmark things happen, then how does your husband deal with the guilt?
I think I feel more guilty than him that he is missing something. I'm like, you missed out on this part of the baby. You missed out on this part of the baby. And then post my delivery, I was in Hyderabad, and then he had to move back to Nasik for his work. So he was like, this 1 month I missed my baby. I think I missed the first smile of hers. I missed, a lot of her milestones. She already started to roll over. I missed it when she has done it for the first time. So I think it's there on both the sides.
I think that's just the sort of nai parampara that we're calling it, of like now the roles are shifting. And for women, I think to just be able to say, I need help, or can you do this, which takes a lot as well. And I think, again, at least for me, and I don't want to speak for others, I expect people to know what they should do for me. Like, you should know. But sometimes it's okay to say, listen, these are the things we need to do today. It'll be great if you can do homework with her. It'll be great if you can do bedtime. Great if you can read this book together. And I think some men like to be told how they can help. I want to touch on what you said, the loneliness part, which I think, again, people are starting to talk about a little bit more. Breastfeeding for me was very boring and lonely. Because again, typically you do it all by yourself, and it takes a lot of time. And I can hear people in the other room having fun. And, this was a while ago, of course, that I was doing it. But even now, you can be in a room full of people and you could be thinking about something that is connected with your child or their health or something, and you feel isolated. And when it comes to, I think, issues of health and wellness, people don't typically share so much for various reasons. And again, that can feel. So I like that people now are speaking a little bit more, and somewhere you feel connected to other people, and somewhere I think that loneliness eases. But you used the word loneliness.
Mine was a C-section, and I wasn't lactating immediately. So it took about 2-3 weeks. And I was really lucky that my husband was there, and he actually would just speak for me and say, it's okay, there is formula, so you don't have to worry. So I think if you have that family support in that phase, during that phase, I think it really eases out everything, like you said, and really helps.
Do you remember any of you, like some of the lonely moments, or like what for you was most challenging?
I think, as you mentioned, breastfeeding, every 2 hours in the night, we just have to sit alone, keep feeding the baby while your husband is just lying around and then sleeping, I was like, can you please wake up, and can you also burp the baby? I wish somebody could do that for me so that I just feed and I sleep, because every 2 hours almost you're up. So at those moments, you really feel lonely at that time, especially during the nights. You need that support. And as ma'am was mentioning, breastfeeding can sometimes be very painful also because of that, pressure of sore nipple or painful nipples and abscess sometimes, and sometimes not getting the milk. So all these things, and sometimes the elders think every cry is for feed. So they get the baby and they make sure that you feed the baby. But they need to understand that every cry is not for feeds, you know. Sometimes they just need comfort. Sometimes they're just crying for, you know, even if they're not getting sleep also. So the support system, as ma'am mentioned, like it really matters at that moment, and especially in the early stages of postpartum phases.
Yeah. How was it
For me, it was that first year when Abir had silent reflux
Yeah.
and I had to constantly be feeding him. I actually switched to exclusively pumping at the 1 month mark when my doctor said you can introduce the bottle. I'd never let go of the bottle after that. And it also made my life easier because then once I pumped, I could sleep a little bit a longer stretch and somebody else could feed my son, you know. So
But the sound of that pump gives
oh,
me nightmares even now. My God.
I totally get it. I actually let go of one nanny because she was just too quiet. I needed somebody who would talk to me. I'm sorry. And my husband was like, they talk too much. And I'm like, you guys are not home.
Yeah.
I need somebody who will talk to me who is not my son. I need somebody who talks to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but they found it really funny, but I just needed somebody to talk to me, and that was the loneliness that was actually acting up, and I needed some help, and that it really helped when somebody was there to talk to me the whole day long.
That's so true.
So yeah, it was a funny scenario, but I needed a nanny who would talk to me, and yeah.
Yes, so I think what Payal was just talking about, the loneliness and wanting someone at home to talk to, I still face that, and you know, I have 2 nannies, and I make sure that they talk and they chit chat, and I go and you know give my own 2 cents. So I do that, and yes, I think the first year was extremely tough. A, because I was alone. B, my mum had come over for like 2-3 months. She's a doctor, so she couldn't get more leave. And once she left, I felt trapped in the house. I couldn't go anywhere. I didn't even have a nanny at that time because it was peak COVID, like the first wave. And the toughest year, I would say. And, you know, moreover, nights were tougher because she would wake up and she was a heavy baby. So picking her up from the cot, rocking her, you keep on walking in the room and then put her down again to have her cry again and then again pick her up. So that would actually impact my back a lot.
sure.
So after a point of time, I stopped picking her up. It's like, you come to my bed. I chucked the cot out and I was like, I cannot do this because I am the one who has to get up again and again, pick you up, and I cannot rock
But
you
that's
like
the thing,
this.
that there's no perfect way of doing it. You have to do what works for you because it's not a night or 2. This is going to be for a very long time that you're going to do it. But I think what gave me strength during these times was just the sense that this too shall pass. So even if it was a fever and her first cold, an injury, just knowing that these are phases, nothing is going to stay. And my pediatrician would tell me all this time. He was like, you know, enjoy this. I was like, how can I enjoy this? She hurt herself. So we move to our next segment now, which is a sort of rapid fire, like Mumma on the spot. I'll, of course, ask you questions and you shoot back. Okay. So first one, your toddler eats something off the floor at someone else's home. Your reaction?
5-second rule.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same,
100%.
Also depends on what they've picked up.
Exactly. If it's food, then 5 seconds.
If
If
it's
not,
not
then
food, then call the doctor.
Yeah, okay. So next question, what is the one thing you love stealing from your child?
snacks and maybe his gummy bears. He's really, like on his cheat day, he has these gummy bears and they're addictive. They're yummy. So yeah.
And he's not like, "Arey, I thought I had more in the packet." Not
No,
yet.
I don't get that many. So he can have less, but I'm having half of them.
Nice, nice. You guys?
So I wouldn't call it stealing. I would call it sharing. We both actually use the Cetaphil Baby lotion. So it's, you know, something that we share. I wouldn't call it stealing. And it works really well on our skin. We both like how it feels. It's not sticky. So yeah, 100% the lotion.
I agree. And I'm one up. I'm carrying it with me. So it's with me all the time on flights and all. It's really handy. And
So
it's-
prepared.
Yeah, gentle on the skin. I love it.
You are very prepared. I'm very impressed.
I do steal some of her t-shirts because I wear them as crop tops.
Wow.
Good one. Nice. I think I can see myself getting that. Yeah, soon. And Inaya borrows mine as well. Wears them as night
Borrows.
shirts. Yeah.
Night shirt.
Parenting hack that is so good that you want to patent it.
So I think too, I make these fruit ice lollies, just fruit. So whenever he's in a bad mood, it always works. It's like a treat. And the other one is that when I'm sleeping with him at night, that's the best time to have conversation. So that's when, that's the time we should always have with our child, because they're the most vulnerable and they talk maximum at that time.
100%, best time.
Yeah.
I would say connection before correction. As a mom, please connect with your child before you correct them when they are wrong, when they're having a tantrum. It works so much better, and it, eventually you will see it reduces tantrums as well. Real parenting hack.
I think it also works with husbands.
With anybody. With anybody.
I will try this at home.
So always feeding them before you expect anything from them, because half of the time they're hungry and they're throwing a tantrum because of that.
Angry.
Yeah, aren't we all?
So keep their tummies full and you'll get what you want.
The first thing you do when your baby finally goes to sleep?
I think I'm on my phone. I instantly pick up and grab my phone and I'm on, watching the reels.
At night when he goes to bed, I plonk myself on my bed and put the TV on and I watch nonsense.
That's me with just a slice of chocolate cake.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm pretending not to eat sugar through the day.
Same thing, scrolling my phone. I just need some my time for myself. So.
When she was younger, I used to go for a workout or a walk, but now I think I sleep with her. And I don't get that time because by the time she's down, I've also slept with her.
Nice. So I think all of us are doing things, but I think it's important to have that guilt-free me time is very, very important. What about a WhatsApp group that you guys have muted?
School.
School?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to do that?
So we get emails and messages on an app for everything school related. Most of the questions on the school group are asking what those messages were and they've not read it, and I do not need to go through that all the time.
Nice.
So for me, there's this group, Moms of 2020. I feel I know enough now, so that's on mute.
Very nice. Been there, done that.
I've muted my hospital group only because right now I'm on the break. I don't want to see too many cases, so I just on mute.
My family group.
Why?
Also, maybe you have many family groups, like I have 3.
Yes, I also have many, and there'll be one picture and people will start giving their comments and it'll go on and on and on, and there'll be good mornings and good nights.
I think some of you are going to get phone calls when this ends.
One second.
From school, you from family.
But before that, you tell us what group you've muted.
I thought my phone is on mute all the time.
Oh,
I
same,
am nobody's emergency call number, including my mother. She's like, you never answer your phone. So I give my number to everyone because I'll never answer the phone. That's just me. Last question in rapid fire. Your baby's current favorite thing that is not a toy.
He's obsessing over cricket. So he goes for these classes. He's ready in his t-shirt and Mama, I want to go play cricket. So
Good, nice, healthy sport.
Yeah, for my son, it's all sports right now, but cricket is the top of the list. He goes for cricket thrice a week, football twice a week, tennis once a week, and these are all after school. And his school already does 2 hours of sports every day.
Wow.
So he is in this sports obsessed phase right now. And yesterday I was told, can I stop tennis and start basketball? So I was like, okay, summer's here, do what you want, because once school starts, we can't do so much.
True, that's true.
We'll see.
I have a feeling that I know what your child's obsession is.
Me?
Yes.
Myself?
Yeah. And the sounds that she's making when she's close to you.
Absolutely. She loves clinging on to me. So she needs that touch. She needs that connect. I think the bond, it happens at this moment.
Oh, I miss that
I
phase.
know. I know. How about
For me,
yours?
it's stickers.
Ooh, yeah.
They're everywhere, all across my house walls, and we have this whole stash of stickers which keeps on getting bigger and bigger, and no one's allowed to take them. And band-aids, yes.
Has she put stickers on things that you don't want stickers on and now they're not coming off?
Of course, yes. But
Lovely.
yes, I figured out a hack to get them out.
Lovely.
Give her a 5-star when she does something that you say.
Yes,
All the stickers.
So that brings us to an end of our rapid fire, and we can now move to our final segment, If I Could Go Back. Some of us have not so far to go back. Some of us have longer. I think I have the longest. But if you could go back to the very first day when you became a mother, and if you could whisper one thing perhaps to that earlier version of yourself, what would it be?
think for me it would be relax and enjoy the moment, because I think I was too paranoid, the anxiety, So in fact, I tell Rohit that I would want one more child just to enjoy parenthood more, because I think I was very harsh on myself.
Yeah.
To take it easy.
That's true. I think for me also it was very similar, but this is all the benefit of hindsight. When you're in that moment and the first time, like you were saying, that the fever also. I remember my daughter's first fever and I was very, very stressed. And coughs, I've been told, are tougher for, like the child looks uncomfortable, but it's not a big deal. And I used to get very,
And we don't
any
give
health
cough
issue
syrups
really.
for babies also, so you have
Exactly.
to deal with it.
Exactly. So I think a lot of things, until they learn how to speak, we interpret so many things and perhaps misinterpret so many things. For you?
Trust your gut and ask for help. Trust your gut, because whenever I have felt something is wrong, it usually is. And sometimes we like second guess and we, double check and all, but I've found it 99% to be correct. And definitely ask for help when you need it, because I think I did not ask for enough help and I should have.
Did you really want the help?
I don't know.
Are you
I
just
don't
saying?
know. That's fair point. Fair point. Sometimes I was not ready to accept it either.
For you?
I think at this moment, I just wanted to tell myself that, take care of yourself also, because there's the entire family who's caring for the baby. But for myself, I think the first 1.5 months or 2 months, I've missed on all my supplements and I ended up with back pain and shoulder pain. So I was having this guilt of like not being able to carry my baby for a longer time. So I should have taken better care of myself, because I've kept everything ahead of myself, my baby, my family, everything. So I just want to like slow down and tell myself that I need to take time for myself also.
Yeah. When I delivered Inaya, obviously everyone who came home was very interested in the child, but I think my mother was the only one who was looking after me, and she sort of made this soup every day for me, and she said, this will help you lose weight, where nobody else, you want to get back to your old self, not in an aggressive way, but you do feel like you've given so much of your body and you feel like you missed your old body. And she connected with that and she said, I had this soup and it's very nutritious, and it'll also help you to lose weight. It'll be satiating for you and all of that. And I don't think anyone else was looking out for me in that way. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
I'm glad I have my mother to take care of me.
So
right
that was
now.
my mother-in-law. She made a very fixed this thing. I had to have chicken soup. I had to have this one powder that they had made. The panjiri we negotiated on. But there was healthy food for me at every meal, and there were times I did not want to eat. She would make sure I ate, and thank God for the support system, because I don't think I could have made it without it,
So there was this one friend, Aru's first birthday, she actually got Aru a gift and me a gift.
So nice.
And I just howled, like, you just...
Yeah, it's your first year. Because every birthday is
You're
actually
a
about you
mother
guys.
also.
Yeah, 100% about us.
Yeah, it's so true. How about you?
For me, I would tell my old self that, you don't have to prove anyone that you're a good mother. It doesn't get easier. You are going to get adapted to it. It will take time, but you'll work your way around it. So relax and calm down, because the half of the things I think that come up, the loneliness, the sadness, the pressure, is because of our surroundings and
the voices in our
the
ears.
voices.
And the hormones.
And the
Yes, of
hormones.
course.
Let's not forget the hormones.
Yeah.
Yes,
Always
but people
with us.
don't take that into consideration,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you just have to take it slow, I think.
And you'll do it. You've done it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much. I think it was a really nice conversation, especially around Mother's Day. How are you going to celebrate Mother's Day, by the way?
So I think a staycation maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, I have a staycation plan too.
It's my first Mother's Day.
Oh, enjoy it, enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm feeling already so emotional about it.
And you? I'm going to go shop. Nice. I've just left a blank sheet of paper on Anaya's desk with the
gonna make
calendar
a-
saying, you make me a card. Say nice things about me.
I keep telling my son to it, Mother's Day, you haven't made your card yet? When are you making it?
Yeah, exactly. I think that, like the joke goes that a mama never really finishes anything. Your job is really never done. But today I feel wasn't the end of anything. Today was the start. Today was like the start of learning how to be a mom of today. A mother, I think, who knows that she matters. A mother who knows her own life matters, who knows when to stop, when to breathe, when to have a seat, when to ask for help. So I do want to wish a happy Mother's Day to every mother who's watching. And I do want to thank all 4 incredible women here. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for sharing your stories. And just cheers to parenting ki nayi parampara.